it is. On your screen now, the margin calculator for Delhi. Can anything change? What can change is AAP can go from 28 at best to 31 because there are 9 seats where the margin is less than 1,000. So only 31 is the upper range that the AAP currently looks at. The BJP, on the other hand, which is at 42 at the moment, could at best go up to 48. So 50 seems a far cry at this moment, but they could go up to 45, potentially to 48 as well. Yashwant Deshmukh joins us now. And you know the interesting thing, as I bring out the vote share data here, Yashwant Deshmukh from C Voter, I want to tell our viewers, was spot on. He told us live over the last 48 hours that the vote share gap is 3%. This is when, I don't name any one particular pollster, but multiple pollsters said the vote share gap is 6 to 8%. Yashwant in his data said the gap is about 3%. 44.4 for AAP, 47.8 for the BJP, roughly 4% gap, give or take. That's where it will settle between 3 and 4. So given how complicated it is to capture this vote share, Yashwant Deshmukh, take a bow, well done.
Thank you, Rahul. And I'm so glad that we are not into that seat scope anymore in that way. Because you can very well see, as I've been watching you since morning, you know, with the close margin seats of 500 and 1,000 votes, honestly, the fact is that those votes with each and every round of counting, you know, one machine opens up and there are more than 1,000 votes going here and there. So obviously, these things are important to gauge. What is more important to gauge is why exactly is this happening? And that is where, you know, our trackers and our post poll has been focusing on, that Aam Aadmi Party lost the middle class, or let's put it this way, BJP pulled in the middle class. It was already doing in a two-phase manner. Number one, that the onslaught of Aam Aadmi Party on the Sheesh Mahal and the liquor scam and everything, that had already taken down the sheen of Aam Aadmi Party as the anti-corruption crusader and everything. But the last hit on nail was the union budget.
And so how much credit, if Nirmala Sitharaman is watching, the union finance minister, how much credit would you give her for swinging the last-minute fence-sitter voters? Your poll, I remember, said 22% of the voters said they would decide on the day of polling. That's 1 in 5. And the percentage went up from 17 to 22. So to what extent would you give the budget put together by the PM and the finance minister the credit for that last-minute swing in fortune?
The precise lead that you are looking on the screen right now, that 4% is courtesy Nirmala Sitharaman, nothing else. Because, you know, when we stopped, because of the ECI embargo, when we had to stop showing the tracker, Rahul, you remember, I mean, that was almost like 72 hours prior to that. In those 3 days post-budget, we had seen the sharpest of the turn as far as the middle class male voters were concerned. And in the post-poll numbers, when you see the income-wise categorization of how things had standing, it was a huge, huge gap as far as the upper middle class and middle class voters were concerned.
Since the morning, there's been a view in the studio that there is no class divide anymore. That's all bunkum. But I would think with what you seem to suggest now, that there is a bigger class divide this time around.
It's a huge class divide for a simple factor. You know, Preeti, if there was no class divide, Aam Aadmi Party would not be sitting pretty at 43% votes.
You're right.
These 43% votes are precisely coming from the bottom of the pyramid. From the Juggi Jhopadi, low-income group, the minorities, this is precisely where they are getting it from.
So the class divide has only widened, Yashwant. That's what you're saying. It's even more stark than it was in 2020.
It's more starker than the 2020 because in 2020, even the urban middle class went the Aam Aadmi Party's way. Their entire vote bank of
we spoke of where we agree with your data. I'll tell you where we disagree, Yashwant. You captured data to say that more than 15% of the women voted for AAP. That's the gap between AAP and BJP was more than 15%.
Yeah.
The fact is that if the BJP is leading in this fashion, do you still believe that to be the case, or do you think you oversampled the gap, that the gap that you came back with was bigger than the actual gap on the ground?
You remember that I said that if the turnout number is the same between male and female, then BJP would be having a lead of 3 to 4% votes. That is precisely what is happening. You see, without that bottom of the pyramid support, without the support of the female voters in Delhi, AAP vote share would have crashed below 40%. If you are
Yes,
only...
but I think more
But
than...
that's the wrong way of
No,
looking at
but
it.
I think more than gender. No, but Yashwant, more than gender, this is a class divide.
Exactly.
You know, the gender divide,
But Rajdeep,
if I'm a middle class woman...
No, but can I just frame the argument differently? Let's assume earlier you went to the Jhuggi clusters and 9 out of 10 said they voted for the Aam Aadmi Party. This time, even if it is 7 or 8, it is still a stark class divide in favor of the AAP. But at the margins, your core vote share has fragmented, which is how you've come down from 54 to 44. You won't lose 10% vote share otherwise.
No. Rahul, that's the wrong way of looking at it in my view.
Okay, argue.
You know, the fact of the matter is that the Aam Aadmi Party, there Yashwant is right, would have probably done even worse but for the income divide that exists in Delhi. The lower income groups, by and large, comparison to the BJP, and I believe you must use the reference point to some extent at least also as Lok Sabha, the 54%. The BJP has now got the lower middle class. You see, the middle class is not a monolith. Those who benefited, he says the budget made a difference. If I get 60,000 plus salary, I am now a beneficiary. Earlier it was 7 lakhs.
Middle class,
1 minute. No, 1 minute. I am now differentiating those who have toilet, who have a fridge in house, who have other consumer durables in house. All of them, to a large extent, have consolidated fully behind the BJP. Similarly, a substantial section of those who do not have those facilities, who are at the bottom of the pyramid, have still stayed with AAP. The gender divide has ensured also that the AAP hasn't done as badly as we thought. If the AAP is getting 28, it's because you will find, I believe, in post polls, a disproportionate number of women have voted for the AAP in comparison to the BJP.
So let's pause that to say that a lot of the people who switched back to the BJP are not your income tax beneficiaries. They're not the ones who had salaries of up to 12 lakhs and therefore have benefited.
Over 7 lakhs.
Correct. At the margins, the AAP vote has fragmented. If that wasn't the case, you wouldn't have slipped from 54 to 44.
They've lost the middle class.
That's not the only vote you've lost.
That's the main vote.
That's the main vote.
That's a key part of the vote, but I'm
Middle
saying,
class.
let's assume you lose a part of the Muslim vote, a little part of the Muslim vote. You lose a
Very
little part.
little.
You lose a little part of the. That's what I'm saying. You're chipping away.
See, this is
it's
what
the
I-
chipping
this is what
away.
Rahul is saying is
Understand
actually
what's happening.
correct.
Other way around, if you look the other way around, from 54% votes in the Lok Sabha elections, now they are down to 49. That means that they have been able to save their middle class vote.
Sandeep
which was
Dixit
to
is
be
speaking
shifted
at
to
this moment. Congress candidate from New Delhi. Let's listen.
They've lost the middle.
Okay. We'll try and pull that out in just a moment from Rajat wants to make a point.
I see the starting point of the BJP. It was 40%, around 39-40%. They are almost at 48%. So they've added this 8% kitty. Now, look at the seats that the BJP is leading on. It is all on the outer. There too, there is substantial poorer sections of the society. Look at the central, which is a more urbanized seat where Aam Aadmi Party is still controlling some of the seats. I still believe that this is a Delhi-wide phenomena. Within the Delhi, I don't see that poor would have gone out in the same enthusiasm as they have been doing in the past. BJP's strategy was retain your core 40% and then chip away wherever you can.
Yes.
Even in poorer sections, there were certain Jhuggi Jhopris who were suffering really well, really badly.
No, 1 minute. I would agree with your logic if the AAP had really collapsed as much as some
No, it's not like a
It
zero.
doesn't require a
I've
collapse.
got
Rajdeep, it's not a
44%.
binary. Rajdeep,
Sir,
when the margins are so tight, it's not a binary.
No, sir,
you have to chip away at your vote share.
no.
You have to keep yours,
all of that is-
consolidate your vote
Sir,
share, chip away at the opposition
Sir,
vote
all of
share.
that is fine.